Hi everyone, I'm Tom Cummings. It's been a while since we've done a show, and I really appreciate the manager, Megan Staffier, for the Corbett for doing this, and she offered to do it, and she's hosting it, and she's going to be in the background, and I just think it's a great situation. We're going to have some things to talk about, and I think we should get some good things out there. Joining me is Selectman David Hajjar, and waiting in the wind, and hopefully he'll get on with us, is the town manager, Tony Mazzucco. I'm just going to go back and forth with David. We'll be on maybe a half hour or so, and depends how much we want to talk about. And I want to just welcome David. David, how you doing, buddy?
Very good, Tom, and thank you for having me. It's been a while, but anything that I can do to help share some information. I won't have all the answers, but certainly we can get them. But between Tony and myself, if he hops on or if he provides information, we'll get it out to the everybody as soon as possible.
Yeah, David, let me start with this, okay? Can you give us a little analysis or information on what's going on in our town right now? It looks like to me in my neighborhood, and I'm sure it's all over the place, people are kind of down. They look like they get they're frowning in their face. The good thing about it is that they're walking and they're jogging and they're walking, dogs all over the place, and that's a good thing. What's happening?
Right. So at our level, at the local level, there are really two things. One is what we have to follow is what Governor Baker has issued for guidelines at the state. That is, at the state level, covers every community in the town, in the state of Massachusetts. So it's not like we invent our own rules and Dedham does something different or Weston does something different. So we're all being treated equally as far as what we can and cannot do. Most of the issues that come up have to do with health related, and that's being handled by a small group headed by Sigal Reese, our health department director, but along with George Maurice, Tony Mazzucco, obviously the lead person on general government side. I know Dave Thompson from the schools is involved. So there's a group of people that every day they get together, they have a conference call, they discuss some of the issues, namely medical, and they move forward. So there's really nothing that I can say that we're doing differently than what's being done by any other city or town in the state, because we're not issuing guidelines, the state is. So when it comes time to opening up restaurants or opening up barbershops or, expanding what the government is doing, it'll be based on the 4 steps, the 4 phases that the governor is supposed to issue with the committee that he has set up between the middle and the end of this month. And we'll see what local jurisdictions have for flexibility or not. But in any case, there'll be a 4-phase plan issued by the governor and his team of coordinators that we will follow.
David, usually at this point on your last comment about opening things up, usually somebody knows what's going to happen. A little bit about it, anyways.
Right.
Do you have any idea of what?
Well, in my readings, we get updates from the governor is giving updates almost daily that provides some insight. And believe it or not, there isn't a lot of advanced information that comes to the cities and towns before the governor speaks, because they really don't want people running around doing stuff. So we get it when the governor announces it, and then we can ask for summaries or clarifications after the fact. And that's where sort of Tony and Sigal come into play. They're the ones that have to implement most of what the governor is stating, and then we go from there. But as far as what's coming up, I think you're going to see within the 4-phase plan is for certain things to happen before we're going to be allowed to move on to the next phase. So, for example, phase 1 would say that by this, in the next 2 weeks, cities and towns can allow for businesses to open up under certain restrictions. And I think you see that happening across many different states in the country, as far as whether it's 25%, allowances of how many people can go inside a facility, whatever their capacity is, then 50%, then 75%, then 100%. And you'll see stuff like that will come out. That will be very helpful, and then we can see if it's working. The biggest fear, whether founded or unfounded, really doesn't make a difference. The biggest fear is that we don't want to see a resurgence by just allowing everybody to do whatever they want right away. Then we'll be back to where we were a couple weeks ago, where we were increasing instead of decreasing the numbers.
David, do you know where we are in the town of Norwood as far as sickness is concerned, and how is the Norwood Hospital doing?
Well, Norwood Hospital is doing they're pretty full. I don't have the specific numbers for Norwood. When the state issues them, they typically issue them by county. We're definitely not the number 1 or number 2 county with numbers. And then you'd have to drill down by city or town to get those exact numbers. But the initial numbers that come out from the state or by county, certainly we can get those numbers if you'd like.
Well, no, that's okay. That's okay. I just want to make a point here that if anybody has any comments, you're certainly welcome. 781-769-1478, patriotstom@verizon.net. Tony, David, everybody's still has to wear a mask. Is that right?
Yes, that's a directive by one of the governor's executive orders.
Okay, that's good. So anything else about the general atmosphere in the town? I think it's okay, but I think people are a little bit uptight. Not going to work, and
I mean, if you're part of the elder population, you are definitely more concerned than other population. The middle-aged group folks are probably doing better, and then there's always concern about our young kids for a lot of different reasons. But I just got word that 450 Norwood residents have been tested positive for COVID. So that's where Norwood stands within Norfolk County. But in general, I think people should feel good about the direction. The numbers have been going steadily down. I have a future daughter-in-law that is an ICU nurse at Mass General, and she have seen a significant decline in the numbers of hospitalizations. And my own daughter, who is a nurse in Rhode Island, has seen some of the same effects there. So the numbers in this region are going down. We just want to, by allowing the introduction of going back to normal, which I think we all want, we just don't want it to then reverse the downward trends that we're seeing everywhere.
Okay, and David, before I get into the upcoming election, I just want to mention this thought about, our seniors at Norwood High School. They really, they're taking it on the chin. They really are. They worked all so hard, over these 12 or 13 years. Is there anything, I just had one thought that somebody brought to my attention, but there is anything that's going to happen? Are they, they're going to have a celebration of some sort,
Tell you true, Tom, I do not know. That's a good question for Dr. Thompson and the school committee, what they want to try to do. Different towns are doing different things, about some having drive-bys by the seniors' houses, and either the principals of the particular schools are saying thank you, and let them know that they've graduated. I am not aware of any plan specifics for Norwood High School seniors, but I do feel sympathize with the fact that, this is their time at the end, they're turning 18 and they've done a lot of work over the 12 years, whether it's just education, activities, sports, a lot of wonderful things, and the time that you would want to celebrate it. So I feel bad. Hopefully this is just a blip in their future successes that will come.
I just have a little suggestion, recommendation that maybe, and you as a selectman maybe could, I could call a doctor, okay, Dr. Thompson, but I just had an idea that maybe we could decorate in front of their house the light pole. Everybody has a light pole somewhere near the house, and maybe we could put their little red, white, and blue with their name on it, little red, white, and blue banner around it with with their name on it. I mean, that would be at least something. It would take a little work, yes, it would, but I think it's well worth it. I think they deserve it. This is a thought, David. This is a thought. Yeah.
Yeah, the only issue with that, Tom, is you have a lot of kids that live in either 2 or 3 family homes or in apartment complexes. How about taking your idea and just having poles with people's names on them in front of the high school, and people then can do a drive-by and see their own name on a pole where it says congratulations to all.
Absolutely. Yeah. Something, something.
Hearing now that there are no specific details yet, but there are students involved in trying to plan something. So
Yeah.
More to come.
Yeah. Okay, David, we have an election coming up, okay? Could you give us, what information you have? We are going to have an election, and it's coming right up now. It's not far off. Can you tell us?
Yeah, yes, we are. No, thank you, Tom. The election is scheduled for Monday, June 8th, and you have really 2 choices. You can vote at your normal poll place, whatever district that you are in. You would go to the nearest place to vote that you would traditionally vote, whether it's at one of the elementary schools or the civic center or whatever. There'll be plenty of masks and protection to separate you from any other voter and from the individuals who are staffing the polling places on behalf of the town. So you'll probably be given a bag that contains a pencil or marker, a mask, and maybe even gloves if you want them or need them. You'll have to keep our social distancing, which is probably going to extend the lines that there are. Or my suggestion, it's a strong suggestion, is do an absentee ballot. You can go online or call the clerk's office and request an absentee ballot. There's a form that gets filled out. You return it. They will mail you an absentee ballot right away. And then you can take your time doing it at home, send it back in, and you're done with it. You won't have to wait in line, especially if it's raining or cold. You never know with the weather that's been going. But I just did it for my family. I have 5 voters in my house. I did 5 absentee ballots. 1, I don't want to take a chance on weather, and 2, I want to reduce the time that the poll workers have to sit and be, extensively involved with so many voters walking in and then walking out. So I'm sure everything will go well, but most people have the ability to do, voting by mail through that. I would strongly urge that. I believe all my colleagues on the Board of Selectmen have said the same thing in their own personal comments, especially when we set the date for June 8th, is that if you could do absentee ballot, that would be the best way.
Now, you get one of those ballots by calling the town hall, David? Is that's how you do it?
There's a form that they'll send you that you fill out that states your name, your address, confirming your mailing address, an email address, and then you just sign the bottom of that form. That goes back into the clerk's office so they can track who is requesting ballots, and then they'll send one out to you. So if
Okay.
it's
All right. So it's a two-step situation.
Right. So in my case, there were 5 forms that were filled out for my kids, my mother-in-law, my wife, and myself. We fill them out. We're sending them back in. They'll track them to make sure that no other 5 people at my household request something, a ballot again. And then they'll send me, the clerk's office will send out 5 ballots.
Okay, so you get that form again, Dave, the preliminary form?
Yes,
How
you
do
get
you
that.
that?
You get that either you can go online to the clerk's office, or
Okay.
you just call town hall and get connected to the clerk's office, and one of the wonderful employees will take your call address and they'll take care of it.
Okay, very good, David. Very good. Okay, by the way, I'd just like to tell you that I will be hosting a Selectmen's Debate on Wednesday, June 3rd at 5 p.m. There are 4 candidates for 2 seats. I wish them very well. Helen Donahue, Matt Lane, Debbie Homewood, and Amanda Grow. Also, I'd just like to thank Selectman Howard and Bishop who are stepping down. I want to thank you for your service. It's not an easy position to hold, and good luck to you and God bless. David, let's see. I spoke with, I want to get this in, I really do. I spoke with, let me see if I get my notes here, I had a discussion the other day with a member of the Norwood Board of Health, okay? And I mentioned to her something who agreed with it. And what that something was strongly suggested that when our restaurants open, and they're going to open, they are going to open, they cover each table with a paper covering. And when every new seating, they change that covering. How do you feel about that?
I think that's an excellent suggestion. I think you'll see a lot of people, a lot of restaurants doing that voluntarily anyways, because there's no easier way to clean up after somebody than just rolling it up in the paper, throwing that away, and then putting down a new clean sheet of some sort, rather than trying to use chemicals and not necessarily getting everything off the table or chairs. So I think it's an excellent suggestion. I'm sure there are lots of suggestions that are going to be put forward to the governor before he issues his 4-phase plan. And I'm sure, and I would hope that something like that is part of the discussion and recommendations that come out. My biggest concern, and I've expressed this, is that typically what happens is that the governor issues his executive order that tells the locals what they need to do and what individuals need to do, but they leave it up to the local jurisdictions for enforcement purposes. So that's my only concern, is what we're going to be asked to enforce and whether we are going to have the ability to do all of that. I mean, there are a lot of restaurants in Norwood, and everyone does definitely want to open back up beyond the current curbside delivery or pickup that we have. And people want to go back inside buildings, sit down and relax, enjoy a glass of wine or a beer or drink, have a good meal, be able to take your time and then get up and leave. So I think there'll be a lot of cooperation. I just don't want to put our own enforcement officials in a position where they're running around 24/7 trying to enforce things that may be realistic or sometimes unrealistic.
Yeah, well, David, I did see this out in Colorado, last time I was there a month ago, so a little bit before all this happenings, and a young lady come over and just changed the table, I felt so good about it. I really do.
Yep.
Now, as you know, David, when you and I first met a few years ago, you probably thought I was a little bit to the left of center, or to the right of center, when I didn't shake hands, okay? And I do this, I've been doing it for years, or I'll tell you how long I've been doing it. I do not shake hands. I do not. I think it's not a good way to do things. Do you think the handshake may be gone?
Well, that's probably a personal preference. I know Tom. People can see me. This is Tom. He does the fist. We do that, but he does that with everybody. He's been doing it for years and years. Obviously, ahead of his time. I think you'll see a lot of people do that. But there's something to be said about the warm embrace of individuals or the handshake. So it may take people a while to get back into actually doing the handshake, but I think over time you may see more people do it, but you may also see more people do your style of, sort of the fist tapping. That I like that better than the elbow tapping. I like the fist tapping better than the elbow tapping. So to me, it's going to be either a handshake or the fist tapping, whatever people feel comfortable with.
Yeah, of course,
That's fine.
yeah.
Yep.
And, I have a picture of the governor on my refrigerator with the nun, and going the other way, going my way. Okay, I love it. And
Yes.
in
Yeah,
fact,
no,
my
that's
daughter.
good.
Yeah,
That's
in
good.
fact, my daughter Doreen sent me a message right after. She said, Dad, people used to kind of, mock you a little, make a little fun of you and all the relatives and all that. And she says, they're not doing it anymore, are they? No. But anyways,
Well, Tom, if I can just say, a lot of things that govern how we're going to act going forward, whether it's a handshake or the fist acknowledgement or restaurants, it's what I always say is common sense. I mean, you don't have to be left, right, or center. It's common sense. I mean, if we're still trying to come out of this, you can't flood a restaurant, any type of restaurant or any business, by having 100% full capacity and not expect some blowback. So I think what we have learned is that this has probably changed how we do things going forward. And we need to step into that process using common sense and saying, I got to keep a little distance. I've got to ensure that I have either a mask if we have to have one, that we're only having enough people in a restaurant, sitting every other table or so until we're fully cleared. And I think if we all just use a little common sense in how we do it, I think we'll be all in good shape. I mean, I'm not really worried about the town of Norwood because we have a lot of good people with a lot of common sense. And as long as we don't take what the governor says as a go, as a 100% go on day one, we'll be fine.
Yeah.
This town will be fine.
That's good. Good comments. David, our upcoming town meeting, what do you think?
Well, it is definitely going to be a limited town meeting. So that obviously the biggest thing that the town has been working on with regards to town meeting is the budget. So as usual, the excellent finance commission members that we have are trying to gather all the two big budgets that we have, and that's the school department putting theirs together and general government putting theirs together. And the finance commission will take that information, put their booklets together, make it available to town meeting members, and that's what we will vote on. We are not probably going to do, I know some communities are in one of the executive orders allows us to do 1/12 budgets, but that just means we have to reconvene in July and then August. I don't think people really want to do that. I know people are concerned, the ones that handle our money, about cash flow and the idea that state aid will be reduced. I think will be good for this year. Fiscal year 22 will probably be the tougher year to be concerned with. But we have a whole year to deal with that and to put things in place to prevent us from being in trouble at the end of the fiscal year. So I think we'll be in good, even if we lost 10% of state aid revenue for this fiscal year, we're okay. We are not spending any free cash. We are holding that back at town meeting to deal with it in the fall and to allow this fiscal year to end financially to see if we need to move money into the budget to protect us. So town meeting will be short as far as the budget will be dealt with. As far as other articles, there'll be very few articles with regards to the capital requests and some other specific articles that will all be pushed out to the fall. So most of the discussion regarding capital outlay and the recommendations from that committee and the board of selectmen will come in the fall. We'll deal with what we need to deal with at town meeting, and those issues will be dealt with borrowing. They won't be using free cash. And then other articles that we need to deal with or typically deal with will be pushed out to the fall, sometime September, October, and we'll have a better idea of where we stand financially as a state and as a town.
David, has the board, and I feel this is going to happen. Has the board thought about a quorum we can't get a quorum, we barely get it sometimes, and it takes us a while into the evening to get it. What happens if we don't get a quorum?
Well, if we don't get a quorum, then town moderator is going to have to adjourn to another date and time. So things that we're trying to prepare for, things that people are doing to prepare for town meeting on the 22nd, is to tell people in advance that people will be sitting farther apart from each other. So my understanding is that you could sit like every third seat and then have enough seats in that high school auditorium to fit everybody if everybody came. We don't typically get every town meeting member to come to every town meeting. So you're probably not going to get that this time. I think the assurances that we need to provide is that we're going to keep the place safe and clean. It's not going to be crowded. People will be spaced out, and we want people to be there for a shorter period of time as possible. But we need to conduct the business of the town. And the way the law reads now is there are certain things that we have to do as a town meeting, as a body, that only town meeting can do. And so while there is some flexibility on when we can hold these dates or how we can deal with budgets, at the end of the day, unless we want to ruin people's summer more than we've done already, is to try to get it done on the 22nd and the 25th. Shouldn't take us more than 2 days if we do this, and then be done with it.
Okay, very good. My understanding, David, that Norwood Hospital has some testing they can do. They have 1,000 tests, probably a little less now because they've been using them. But you can get tested at the Norwood Hospital.
That is correct? Yes, Tom.
That's a good thing. That really is.
Right.
I'm glad of that. By the way, I'd just like to mention that my understanding is St. Catherine's Church. I happen to be a Catholic, and they are offering. They have confessions at 1:00 Monday through Friday. I got that word yesterday, and that's another good thing. And that's another big obstacle, is to open up a church like St. Catherine's and St. Timothy's. And more people. Will people go? I don't know. That may be a little bit down the pike. I don't know.
Yeah.
We'll see.
We'll see.
Yeah. So David, the town revenue-wise will be okay. A lot of people are hurting. They are. These people are working at restaurants, the barber shops. The barbershop people gotta be good to them, and we gotta open up the barber shops and hairdressers or whatever. It's gotta happen. It's gotta happen. Pretty soon, don't you think?
Well, if they're going to survive long term, then yes, at some point, part of Governor Baker's issued plan with support from the committee he's established, task force that he has established. We'll have to wait and see on the timelines. That's my concern, is the overall timeline that's going to take us to get from A to Z. If it's too long, some of these folks more of the folks are not going to be able to deal with this long-term, stay at home. But let's hope for the best. I just want to touch on one of the things you talked about, when you said the revenues for the town. I just want to emphasize, so far, so good. We are going to see a dip in certain things. I mean, we know that hotels are closed. So the hotel tax fees that we collect as a town are going to be down. But they're a very, very small percentage of the total revenue that we include for our budget, for budgetary purposes. So, yes, they're down. Permits are slightly down, and that's to be expected as well. But we're not that far off of where we've been on average for the past 5 years, which we are tracking rigorously. So while there are some issues that we'll have with local dollars, our main revenue source, as everybody knows, is the real estate tax. That's the biggest generator of cash flow that we have, and so far so good. And while we have provided flexibility for companies to on the payment, it's still due, and most of the monies that we get for real estate taxes come automatically. We don't have people sending in, obviously you have some people that own their homes outright that will send in their tax payments on a quarterly basis. But most people go use it through the bank in an escrow account, and the banks or the escrow companies send that money into the town, and that so far is A-okay.
Okay, David, I have one more question for you. And if you have anything else, you certainly can go right ahead. You've been a selectman now after a real big campaign, about a year, a little over a year now. And are you enjoying it?
I am enjoying it. First of all, I can't even believe that it's been basically 13 months.
Unreal.
It is unreal. I have enjoyed every minute of it. I know sometimes people say, "Why you look frustrated up there?" I'm not. I just love doing and helping out on different matters for this town, as do my colleagues. I give them all their due in working on different issues. Everybody's got their own specific topics that they like to work on, which is great. There's a lot of conversations that go on. So I'm extremely happy that the voters elected me, and that I've been able to do what I think are good things for this town, and to help my colleagues on other matters, because that's the name of the game. There's no one person to do it. That's why we're a group of 5, and we need to stay together as a group and move this town forward. There are still, in my mind, a lot of things that we need to get done, and this is a tough time to try to get it done, because we can't meet as often as we want without doing, like a go-to meeting or a Zoom meeting such as this. But we're going to get there. And my last comment, Tom, is in support of your Wednesday debate on June 3rd, I think you said. Without the League of Women Voters having their event this year, there's no real place to hear the candidates themselves give their positions on matters that are either the town is working on now or upcoming to this town. And so I encourage people to, not just because you're a friend, but just obviously for informational purposes, they need to hear collectively the candidates answer questions put forward to them, and see and hear the differences between the candidates and how they would approach matters or what they're looking for. It's very important, because we're going to get 2 new members on the board. And as I can speak for myself, you had to jump right in. You're elected on a Monday night, and Tuesday morning you're sworn in, and then Tuesday night you're at your first meeting. There's not a lot of time to congratulate yourself or to get to jump in on many matters. So it's going to be the same for the 2 new members that will be coming on board on January 9th, June 9th. So obviously we'll congratulate them, but they're going to be asked to jump right in. So it's important that they tune into your show and listen to what the candidates have to say, Tom. It's very, very important for the future of this town.
Yeah, thanks, David. I just have one more comment, and then I'll be signing off. Unless you have something else, David. I will say that since I've been in this town now, and I've been involved every election, just about every election for some 50, 55 years. Okay, and I'm going to tell you something. This is the biggest one coming up that I have looked at and talked about and studied, and this is it. This is the biggest election for this town. Whatever happens on June 8th at the polls is huge for this town. So just keep that in mind, people. Vote for the best candidate. We'll do the debate on the hopefully either at the studio or what we're doing right now. I'd really love to do it at the studio, and I know Megan is looking forward to that, and I really look forward to doing it. All right. I just want to say anything else, David? You have anything else, David, you want to mention?
No, I just would say stay optimistic. Stay optimistic, everybody. Things will turn the corner, not at just the town level, but the state and the country level. You can see it across America as we do it today. So stay optimistic.
Okay, David, I want to thank you for joining me. Tony Mizuko was going to be here, but he got hung up in a very important phone call. If we do it again, I'm sure he'll be here. I want to thank you all for watching. I want to give a personal thanks to Megan Corbett. She was very instrumental and it was just crazy. She just took it over, and Tom, don't worry about it, very encouraging me all the time, because it just wasn't easy for me. I have to learn, and that's the way it is, But I just want to say to everyone, please be careful. We'll see you next time, either at the studio or on this show here. We'll get it done, and we'll get information out to you as best we think. Thank you for watching, and God bless, and goodbye.